To see more awesome interviews and content such as this, make sure to check out Liana Kersner's YouTube channel. I'll have a link below in the description.
Let's go on to the Switch, because
Yes.
yeah, I am of similar viewpoint to you. I was very skeptical. I didn't even understand it until I actually got some hands-on time with it. And now it's like, oh, now I get it. And I actually told the Nintendo rep that this made no sense to me. Your videos didn't make sense, nothing, until I actually played it. Now I see the use. Now I see how this fits in sort of the blue ocean approach that Nintendo has. Yes, this is a system for people who want to play Breath of the Wild on their morning commute. That makes sense to me. And there's, you know, great little coffee shop games, as I'm calling them. There's this one called Snipper Clips that it's specifically co-op, and it can apparently be up to 4-player, but you use the little Joy-Cons, like they're teeny, but you're interacting to solve little puzzles. It's like Scribble Knots meets Little Big Planet to me.
Okay.
And that this is all third-party stuff. There's a roguelike game that's coming out exclusive. They definitely have that third-party support, but everybody was lining up for Breath of the Wild. And I'm sitting here going, why are you lining up for that? You're not going to get the complete experience. You're going to get 20 minutes on the game, when even at E3 we got a solid 40 where we could just fart around in it. I was really
Which is nothing
impressed.
for Zelda, yeah.
No. You get the sense of what you can do. You get a sense of the possibilities, but you don't know the whole of the game. It was those little smaller add-on games that I found really interesting. But you highlighted that Nintendo bragged up third-party support on the Wii U.
They did.
And look what happened.
I think with the Switch, and one thing I'm noticing now, which that you could say, if you remember too, they didn't do this from the get-go, and they're doing it from the get-go with the Switch, is they're advertising the living shit out of it. And they're advertising the strengths of it. Like their Super Bowl commercial, at least the one that I saw. People could be telling me there was another one. I didn't see the Super Bowl, but the one that I saw, they showed an adult, young adult, but an adult, getting out of bed, playing Zelda. He was cooking himself breakfast. They were showing how versatile it is. Hey, you could play your AAA game while you're making friggin' eggs. And then they show him putting it in the dock. That commercial to me was brilliant, because you're saying, hey, here's this versatile console that not only is it a portable, a full-fledged portable. People keep on saying that it isn't, but I'm like, yeah, it is.
No, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a full-fledged portable that you could also have the same exact experience at home. That to me is brilliant, and they're playing that card, and it's a smart card to play. Like I've said in videos before, they're doing basically what NVIDIA is trying to do for a few years.
Shield.
And didn't do it in a smooth enough manner. Like, okay, yes, I've done it with my Shield before. I've tried it. It's cool where you're playing Doom BFG edition. You have the controller, you hook it up via a mini HDMI, and you have a console. But it's clunky. You got to put the HDMI in, which the mini HDMIs, I don't know if you use, they're a pain in the ass compared to regular size HDMIs. And then you got to hit the console mode. Then you got to sit down. And whereas Nintendo's just like, they showed it, just pop it in, and people are saying this is true. It just works.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. But the power...
It's more comfortable even than the Wii U gamepad was to play. That the big problem to me with the Wii U is that main gamepad that you couldn't get away from was cumbersome as shit. And I ended up just playing on the screen the whole time. So I realized I was sitting on the couch playing...
a portable game on a home console.
Yeah, the TV's running, but I'm not looking at it. And then the range on it, this was a big problem with the Wii U. The range on it was so short that the whole point of it for me was a fail. Because let's face it, the only good thing about the Wii U is you didn't have to hit pause to go to the bathroom. You could take it with you.
Yeah.
And it didn't even do that, because unless you live in one of these teeny weeny condos, and then even
with
then
thin walls.
Yeah, exactly. And so the Wii had a purpose as a system. Getting old people swinging their arms, pretending to play tennis. Before
smartphones, where the casuals went over to them, yes.
Yeah, and that's why it sold like crazy. But I saw the downfall of the Wii in terms of third-party software support with my mother, who loved Wii Sports and loves Wii Fit and all that. I ended up giving her my Wii because and I wish they'd name things that didn't sound so sexually euphemistic.
Yes.
But here we are.
Whip out my Switch. I know I've said it in videos
I've
before
heard you. Yeah,
accidentally,
yeah.
and I'm just like, oh man, that sounds so perverted. But okay.
But that's the terminal. I mean, Joy Cons even sound like vibrators to me. But you know, um, she just plays those same two games over and over and over,
Yes.
and she's happy. And this is, to me, what the Switch is going to have to overcome. It's not the nobody cares about first party support, is there is a market who buys these Nintendo consoles as gateway devices to play the single game they want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't then go out and buy
The third party.
follow-up titles. They're a completely different type of consumer.
And Nintendo has cornered themselves to have those consumers because of stupid ass mistakes they made.
Well, to not have a new IP until Splatoon in how many years? How many years has it been since
That
we've
is
had a
true. I
new
didn't even
Mario
think of that.
character?
That's true.
Like, that's my
Yeah.
big complaint with Nintendo is, okay, you're a first-party IP company. Where's your new IPs? Like, that's why everybody lost their shit over Splatoon. Oh dear fucking God, it was new. Right?
That is true. I didn't even think of that. That's true.
Yeah.
They just keep on pushing out sequels of their current IPs.
Yeah, and I like those vaguely sinister Mario add-on characters. Like, I like being able to joke that, oh, there's Rosalina. She's selling her star children into slavery. I don't really mean that, but it's funny
I
to
get what you're
say
saying.
because
Yeah.
everything is so cuddly, right? And I like, Yoshi when he premiered back in the day. That was a big deal. Mario had a little dinosaur buddy on, what was it, Mario 3?
No, that was Super Mario World. I remember
Super Mario
that
World.
because that was
Yeah.
when consoles still came with packing games.
Right, right. And so, I mean, when a new Mario character came out, it used to be a big deal. When they introduced the Donkey Kong family, it was a big deal. Now they're retreading Star Fox badly, and they are going strictly on nostalgia without doing that development because design development is expensive. That's the other thing people don't realize about Nintendo. They can make less money from each game because they're spending a lot less on each one.
Yeah.
And I would like to see the Switch break the sort of trend towards these hyper photorealistic, resource guzzling movies that occasionally let you control the main character. I would like to see gameplay become king again. And I think the Switch has a real potential to do that.
You just explain why I can't get into Bethesda games. But yeah, I think you're 100% right. And I think what Nintendo needs to do, like I keep on hearing rumors, there was an educated source. She's on Twitter, and I cannot remember her handle right now because she admitted to it. She's not hiding, but I can't remember if I can remember it, that they got Dark Souls 3 running on the Switch.
Yes.
If I was Nintendo, I would be sending Reggie, and I've said this in videos before to the point that people get annoyed when I bring it up, in a ninja suit and a hang glider into From Software's office and saying, please do what you need to do to get because they want to make, if the Switch sells well, according to what I'm hearing, they want to get all three of the games, like a Dark Souls trilogy thing on there. They should do whatever they need to do because if people, again, know that they can get all of their games on one system, they're not like you and I. I just said this in the video that I'm uploading later today. People don't go out and buy every single system. They don't go buy a PC. They don't go buy every platform. They may just buy one. And they're going to buy the one that's going to have all the games they want, whether it be first or third party. And if Nintendo puts themselves in a corner again where they're the only one making the must-have games, I'm not saying the Switch may still do well, but instead of doing 100 million units, it may do 40 or 50 million, which that's a big number to be a difference with. So that's what I'm saying. Reggie should be begging, making pictures of himself out to From Software and like Take-Two to get those games out, to get obviously you could run Grand Theft Auto 5 if the 360 was running it, and get that game on there. People, that game, what is it? They're just saying it's selling millions of copies like every month. I could be wrong about that number.
I don't understand that, but yeah.
It's like 76 million. So obviously people would be like, holy crap, I could play Grand Theft Auto while I'm taking a shit. Sign me up. It can work.
I'm just imagining people playing Dark Souls games in public because I swear like a demonic sailor playing those games. I don't know if them. Everybody sucks at them. They're hard. It's okay to suck at a Dark Souls game. But I mean, I can't imagine playing that in public. It would be a complete shit show. That would be a video right then and there. Me trying not to sound like a crazy person.
That's like a Conan O'Brien episode in the making right
Yeah.
there.
But I mean, if the Switch takes off, it is going to change culture in that way. We're going to have more of what you see in Japan, which is adults openly playing, their PSP or their mobile games on transit. And you see that some in Toronto, but there's still that sort of covered up so no one sees, right?
It's so funny. Yeah, because it's so weird that people will take their cell phones and they'll game like no other.
Yeah.
Okay. But they're afraid to have a dedicated device because they're afraid of the stigma that goes with it. It's so weird. Then the Switch, if they market it right, could possibly change it. Because you notice that people be like, oh, I'm not a gamer, but they'll play Candy Crush on their phone for like 10 hours a day.
And they'll dump ridiculous amounts of money into that game.
And that's okay. That's socially accepted. But buying a cheap 3DS and playing Super Mario on it, it's, whoa, what are you doing? You're in your 30s, you're doing that? But I'm like, that person just spent like 11 hours and maybe a ton of money playing Candy Crush on their phone. What the hell's the difference? Because you don't see a gaming branded logo on the phone? And that's one thing that the Switch may possibly do, because there's probably a lot of people are going to buy it as a home console, and then they'll take it out of the dock and be like, oh, I could, like, one thing I'm looking forward to is like my fiance watches TV in the bedroom. She watches shows that some of them I can give a crap about. I could sit there and play a AAA game while she's watching a terrible reality show. You know what I'm saying? No, that's a big thing.
This is the issue we have in our house too, because I have to review stuff. And no, I get the 4K TV for game reviews. Like but that's our main TV for obvious reasons. And so if my husband wants to watch something, he'll have to watch his reruns of 70s cop shows on another television, which is fine. They're not high def. But like last night, for instance, where there was something we want to watch and I was pushing through a review, it was a real issue. And having that portability would be great, because I don't know about you, I'm getting a little weary of having to sit for as long as I do on these really intense games, because they do lock you in place. I mean, when you've got a 35-hour game that you need to review in 48 hours before the embargo lifts, that's insane.
It's so funny you mentioned that, because it's weird. When you were a kid, you had your Game Boy and you had all your portable systems and you played them because, you were going a car ride, you weren't driving, stuff like that. And then you got older, like towards college and stuff, like, oh, the portable system's there for kids. You move on to consoles because, you're in a dorm room or whatever, and you're drinking beer, playing. At the time, I would have been playing like Killzone or something like that. Mm. But now as an adult, it's almost like you appreciate the portability again, because, I have an infant son. I can't sit just in one room sometimes. He may be crying. I'm not going to ignore him.
That's right.
Finish, so now if all he needs to be rock to sleep for 5 minutes, he may just want to sit in my lap because he doesn't want to be in his crib. I could continue to play the game and still do my adult duties. And interesting, if you noticed in the Switch, the initial Switch reveal, they showed that with the dog. Here's a guy. Here's a guy. He's in his apartment. His dog needs to do something. He wants to continue playing Zelda. Now he can play it in the park and play the same exact game that he's playing on his HD TV.
That is a real lifestyle issue, though, because the reason I stay the hell away from any sort of MOBA, MMO, all that stuff, I used to play them, but they don't have a pause button. And life should not stop for a video game.
So true.
And this is my whole thing. People are like, you want to play, let's play multiplayer or something like that. It's like, guys, I am the worst multiplayer player in the world, because I will play for 15 minutes and then have to go do something. And that's why I'm kind of interested now that I've touched it. I mean, the other big thing for me is, like you said, I can play with other people. People don't just sit watching me play the game. My husband will only play games if I play with him. Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't understand the language of games. It was a real eye-opener that games do have a language. Knowing what to do in what scenario is a language you learn.
So true, yeah.
And so he likes to play the games, he likes to shoot things, but he doesn't want to have to do the puzzles. He doesn't want to have to do those, maintenance things while the screen is loading. Like, I'm I pointed out to him, like, we're doing this because it's background loading the next scene and they don't want to give you a load screen.
Or
But
maybe there's a maneuver or something that you and I know is common sense, but if someone who isn't a true gamer, they won't know. Okay, usually you press this button and it makes it happen. Yeah,
yeah, strafe left and dodge.
yeah,
That's not a people will run forward or backward. The natural inclination is to jump back from something you're trying to avoid. Of course, you'll get pummeled
yeah.
in a game doing that. But it's true, and I think that hopefully the Switch will break down that barrier for adults who may there's a lot of lapsed gamers out there, right? Because what we were talking about gaming not being socially acceptable. Do you have people in your life who just don't understand what you do, the whole gaming thing?
Oh God, absolutely.
Yeah.
Before I, it was so funny when I've mentioned this in videos a long time ago. When I first got laid off from my job, YouTube was just like I would look for jobs. I got laid off in 2009 from IBM. I would look for jobs, and gaming was my pastime. There's only so many help wanteds you could look for in a day for a few hours. And I remember I would upload YouTube videos, and like my aunt would call up my mom and be like, "He's laid off. What is he playing video games for? What is he doing that? What is he doing that?" Yeah, they don't, and now they get it because I'm making a living off of it. So
Yeah.
now all of a sudden, as soon as money's involved, it's amazing how opinions change. But oh yeah, the people are like, "What do you play video games for as an adult?" I'm like, "What do you watch 5 hours of TV a night for if you're an adult?" Why? So sitting on your couch and your ass, literally not even moving your hands, is okay.
Why are you
But
watching other people cook food you can't eat?
yes. Or why are
Is
you
the thing for
watching two
me.
people beat the shit out of each other on a reality show, which is about as real as, watching a soap opera?
I know,
And
I don't
that,
get it.
yeah, it's like it's my form of entertainment.
Yeah.
But especially back then, before I made a living off Review Tech USA, oh my God, the eyes that I got on me. Yeah, it's annoying. I don't understand why it's not socially accepted when every other form of entertainment has been socially accepted. There's some real men, drink beer and stare at their televisions for 4 hours after they mow the lawn. Okay, congratulations,
Or
good for you.
or they'll spend thousands of dollars on golf clubs that they use 3 times a
Yes.
year, and this is somehow more acceptable. Like I used to caddy. I saw the crazy shit that people would buy. Like they'd have $900 drivers, right?
Oh,
Giant heads on these things, and they're never going to use that tool to the way a pro would. But they're using the same golf club that Tiger Woods does. Do you ever sit back, because I know I do this, do you ever sit back and just be a little bit afraid at how much what we do is connecting to who we think we are?
I think, yeah, you know what it is? I think it's because you do get the stares and the judgment.
Yeah.
Whereas when you watch a television show, it's just in passing. When I explain my job to someone, to them, it's like, really? Like how it's always so much more, and you always get judged so much more
Yeah.
that you kind of always think about it because you're getting a more kind of like what we talked about before. You get a more critical eye. I
Mhm.
could be a stamp collector, which sounds like I'm not. Hey, if you're a stamp collector,
I
so watch
used to
this.
be.
It sounds like the most boring ass thing in the world.
It's cool.
But to me it's the most boring ass thing in the world. But again, there won't be a second glance at that. Whereas if you're like past 21, even though more gamers are older than 21 than younger, if you're
Hmm.
past 21 and you say, oh yeah, on my downtime I enjoy playing PlayStation 4, people are like, really? So, and that screws with you. It's not that I'm not
It's
insecure,
true.
but you're kind of like, yeah, what's the big deal? So you kind of almost get instinctually defensive because everyone's always giving you that extra judgment that with any other hobby, no one would give you.
See, my problem is I just start trolling. I do my whole, yeah, I'm a gamer and you should too, sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, it's great and there's this and there's that, and I get a little bit snarky, and then I start doing that to people online who don't take it well at all. And it is a defense mechanism, just because you get really tired of having that same damn conversation.
Oh, it's so annoying.
It's not going to go anywhere. I mean, I don't know if it's worse for me. It's interesting getting your perspective, because you do those girls' nights, which I cannot stand because I have no point of reference for anything there anybody else in the room is doing. And then I start having to explain what I do and what my work is. Like I'm an alien that just landed from, Alpha Centauri, at greetings, humans. They have absolutely zero point of reference. One, because it involves computers and taking them apart, and that is fun to me. That feels like working on a car or
Mhm.
something like that. I have a buddy of mine and we get together and we take computers apart and put them back together, and that's our idea of bonding time. But you talk about this stuff, and I can get in groups of guys and have a conversation. I get in groups of other women, and there's certain acceptable topics of conversation, usually about how crappy men are, how crappy men are, and how crappy men are. And I don't like that. I want to talk about video games. Dead silence. They have no idea. Is this a woman thing, or have you experienced some version
Oh,
of this
hell
too?
no. Hell no.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it's funny if I get together with people that are friends of mine. No, my close friends. No, actually, that's not true. Most of my close friends aren't gamers. And I get shit on for it, even from a guy's perspective. Like, you still play games? I thought you got over that in high school. I thought you
Oh,
like.
really? Okay.
Oh
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. They don't. It's so funny. Like, I guess as an adult, you're supposed to pretend that you're something. Hey, look, if you got tired of video games, that's fine. But as an
Okay.
adult, I've noticed there's a lot of people who try to pretend there's something else that they really aren't. Like, I've listened to rap music since pretty much the same age that started playing
Yeah.
video games. I still listen to it to this day. I love rap music, and I know there are friends in high school that were probably bigger into rap than I was, which is saying something because I'm really big into it, who now like pretend they never listened to it
Wow.
because it's like it's not socially there. A lot of my friends do too. I'm not going to make it like they all do, but there is that group where it's like I need to be this, and this, and video games fall into that too. Like, oh wow, you're going to be 36 this year, you still play video games? I'm like, yeah, I'll be fucking 56 and I'll still be playing video games. Who the hell cares? And again, like I said to you before, these are the same people that judge you on your hobby, but then have a hobby that's, in my opinion, more ridiculous, like watching 6 hours or 5 hours of TV a night. But because it's socially acceptable, it's okay, and they won't get the same judgment. So even as a guy, I know the guys do it too.
That's
The
really
guys do it too.
interesting that it's instead of it being you're less female, it's you're less mature.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
Oh
Okay,
God,
see?
yeah. When I was single, it was even worse. Like, oh, you're a man child. You're going to be this and that. It went away a little bit now that I have a fiance and a kid, which is strange too. It's like, it's that whole ape tribalism thing in our brains, I guess.
My husband, his thing is comic books.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, now that's kind of cool because now you're a point of reference for people when they see a movie and don't understand something. They message us or call us and we explain it to them. But yeah, he's had some really funny conversations in game stores because he'll go pick up the pre order. Because I'm like, I download. No, I'll go get the game. All right, fine. And he'll go in and he never gets carded. He never gets asked if he's um, buying the game for a kid.
Mhm.
And that's part of the reason I don't like buying games retail because I get asked that all the time. And it's not even, I have to ask this. I do it to everybody. Just say yes and get on with it. It's like, you sure? Because if you're giving it to a kid, I can't sell it to you. And every
Jesus, really?
every time I buy a God of War game, every single time, I get the reviews from PlayStation. Now, bless them, they avoid me in awkward conversation. But I remember God of War 2, I had to prove basically knowledge of the game before the guy would put the game in the bag and give it to me. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
But he goes in there and they start talking to him, even if I'm with him, like he's the one that plays the game. And he says to them, no, talk to her. She knows it. I don't even play this game. And they'll look at me and go back to talking to him. It's this weird social conditioning that makes no sense, but I think it goes back to that stigma surrounding it, right? And that why would a woman want to play these things that treat women so badly? And to me, some of the greatest female characters in any media ever are in video games because they're allowed to be a lot more complex and kind of peel back like an onion, like the Dragon Age characters before that series shit the bed trying to be like Skyrim.
Because and there is a lot of women that play video games, but I think it's also too that men are still shocked for some reason. That's why there was I hate the whole stupid ass girl gamer thing,
I
and
do
and
too.
and women would market them. Hey, I'm video games and I play video games and I'm a girl, and it doesn't work as much now. People are like, yeah, who gives a shit? Because
Yeah.
people finally realize that females play video games. But there was a time on YouTube where girl gamer was cha-ching. I'm sure you remember it too. You know,
It moved over to Twitch, and part of the reason I haven't started doing things on Twitch is that became this troll bait thing, and I didn't want anybody confused about what I did. And that's frustrating because I should be able to partake in this and not have to worry about this damn branding game. But, it's very real. I mean, look what happened to PewDiePie. He stepped out of his brand and suddenly tried to be Captain Edgelord, and it bit him. So you have to be super careful.
God, are you like psychic? You're going to my videos today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I will stop.
No,
Yeah.
you don't have to stop.
Yeah.
I think this time I've defended him in the past before, and a lot of people thought I was, excuse this term, but dick riding him.
Really?
This one was stupid. He did though. What? How do you feel about it? You could dislagree with me. How do you
I
feel?
If somebody else did it, it would have been fine. If it's somebody who is, edgelord for life, this is just edgelord being edgelord. They put these guys on their shoulders and ride them around. I mean, Johnny Depp can do any stupid thing he wants, spend $30,000 a day, people still love him because, this is a guy who snorted baby laxative for a movie about cocaine addicts. It it is the fact that the appeal of PewDiePie was that Felix is a fresh-faced, non-threatening, blonde, blue-eyed boy that used to scream like a girl at survival horror games and attracted a relatively young audience who actually is somewhat impressionable. And then you get picked up by Disney, like the know your brand precepts just piled up and up and up and up and up with him. And to me, I agree with you, it was dumb. But as somebody who does offensive content, I'm like, yeah, I've done not things like that, but similar things. And I'm always a little hesitant because, my husband and I are Jewish, and so I never want to overreact by personalizing it. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I know it's all over the internet. I know it's something people say. I understand the concept of you couldn't believe they would actually say it, and the experiment was, this was the stupid thing they were willing to say. At the same time, it's not good for business.
Here's the thing. Was I personally
Yeah.
offended by what he said? No, I don't.
Right.
People irritate the shit out of me, but to offend me,
Yeah.
I trust me. I have a block list a mile long on Twitter from people who've irritated the shit and try to get and annoy me. But to offend me, it takes a lot. Was I offended by anything he did? No, I didn't find. I just thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
But the reason why this time I kind of agree with the masses, unfortunately, I cringe saying that, but I'm not going to, not base an opinion, just try to be different.
Right.
Was when he had I remember seeing the video where he was talking about Keemstar and he had, for some reason with the segues, he had Hitler in the segue. That was it. I'm like, all right, who gives a shit? He has a picture of Hitler. All
Yeah.
right, it's a meme now, whatever. But when he had the kids that he paid from Fiverr to open up a sign and say death to all Jews,
Yeah.
I'm like, do you want to commit career suicide? I'm like, no. Yeah,
But
man,
again,
I get why.
if Seth MacFarlane did that, he'd be just fine.
Okay.
He'd be fine
You
because
got a point. You got a
he's a
point.
shitlord, right? And he's the shitlord that your effete friends are okay because he has a television show and sings and dances, but he could get away with that. PewDiePie, again, it violates his brand. It's the exact same way we had, our blessed late mayor, Rob Ford. He could do anything he wanted, and his core base of support still loved him because he was like that from the beginning. Other politicians, our current prime minister, he farts the wrong way. and people turn on him because his brand is here, you know, in this sort of intellectualized, pretty, oh, you're dreamy and smart at the same time, don't ever disappoint me ever, Edward Cullen for prime minister, right? Whereas,
So true.
you
Okay.
know, Rob Ford is down here. He's the guy you can sit next to at a bar and listen to him talk, and you actually feel better about yourself because this guy's such an epic screw up, right? And that to me is the mistake that PewDiePie made. And I hope that he can make a go of it on his own. It might not be a bad idea to evolve his brand to an extent, just because it is
Because
so
he
brittle.
was smart with that, because he realized that the people that watched him even a couple years ago, they grew up, you know, and they don't want to see him just jump like a schoolgirl playing games and pretend to be scared. Um, the only thing I'll say is that the mistake that he made was he went from that just like kind of PG-esque, PG-13, let's say, to going over to trying to be the edgelord who does things like the whole anti-Semitic thing, even though he may not even be anti-Semitic. I don't think he is. When you have this one brand and you're totally conflicting with it, and Disney's cutting your checks. Come on,
He's
you
my
think
he's Miley Cyrus with a penis. I mean, he's trying to do that thing that
that's a good analogy
pop
too?
princesses do, right? Like, I want to be serious now. Well, that takes a good 2 years and a lot of screaming to, I mean, they all do it, right? Britney did it. Christina Aguilera did it quite consciously. Miley Cyrus did it. The one that's interesting is Ariana Grande, because she went, you know, went that sort of sexualized R&B. She wants to make this sort of album at the age of 14. And she may actually have an easier time of it because of it, but for the meantime, the the video I am looking at, the image I am looking at is not matching the lyrics coming out of her mouth, and it's making me really uncomfortable. But
And yeah, and that's what happened with PewDiePie, because I think the reason why, I mean, besides the fact that he gets more views in a day than I do in a year, the reason why um, I think Disney and Google really tried to make him the face of YouTube was because he had that fresh face and
he's
this and
clean
that.
cut. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he went over to this, and they're like, everyone wanted to drop him because the reason they put him on was because he was a good to have as the front man, and now he's not. So you're right. You made a good point about Seth MacFarlane, but I think I still understand why Disney and Google are kind of like,
Oh,
because yeah,
I get it too, because yeah, they're not, I mean, Disney has made some interesting choices in voice work. You know, they hired Gilbert Godfrey and Lewis Black, and, you know, even Ellen DeGeneres in her own way. She's a clean comic, but there was that whole lesbian thing where that was dicey for a while. So they don't shy away from controversial personalities if their talent, you know, it's the asshole to awesome ratio. The more awesome you are, the bigger an asshole you can be. But
yeah.
let's face it, there's no accident that Disney went with him, because my joke about him is he's the only guy, he's the only person, male or female in gaming, whose boobs are small enough to be Disney approved.
Yeah.
You know, like, my boobs are way too big to ever be backed by Disney, and a lot of my male gaming compatriots can say the same. And you know, but it yes, that's an off-color joke, but it's true as well. His look helped him a lot
Oh yeah.
because of that.
It was very marketable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the guys that hang around for a long time in gaming, they have sort of the same hair. The hairline just creeps back, right? And they'll go through 3 or 4 female co-hosts, and they're still sitting there, and they're getting more cantankerous and more bitter for reasons I do not understand, because my God, any job in media that you can be there for that long and have a steady gig and not, you know, not be worried about still dating, because that's the nice thing about doing fact-based programming. You can go on forever because you're always going to have constant new facts. It's not like something like Girls, or something like even Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead, or they all have their time, and then people get bored with them.
And that's the thing. Reason why I chose what I did with gaming news was not only because doing reviews, the politics that I had to deal with was annoying, is that I knew there's always constant content, and it's not, there's no expiration date on it. And plus, I basically, even when I started this, I looked old as shit anyway. So I don't think, no one was going to go by my youthful looks for what I was doing. But yeah, I mean, when you have that shtick, that's what I've noticed on YouTube. You have a shtick. I don't know if you know who Leafy is here is.
Yeah.
You have that shtick. You blow the hell up. You may last a little longer than others. You blow the hell up. And then as fast as you blow up, maybe even like a month later, you're irrelevant again because, usually you get a younger audience and a younger audience attention span. Like I know with my kids, their attention span, they go from one show, they love it, they're obsessed with it. Then a month later, it's already done.
Except for Spider-Man. Spider-Man is eternal. And Cars. I don't know why. Those last forever. But yeah.
And then the next thing you know, they just shrivel up, and that's one thing I could say about PewDiePie is that I think he was smart enough to realize that if he kept just doing the fake jump scares, he kind of evolved himself. And I think he also got a little bit of an older audience too because of that. But you can't be part of Disney and, go and make Death to Jews jokes videos.
It's that specific sensitivity because of the exposure the company has.
Yes.
There's all the stories about Walt and it's been expounded upon ad nauseum. And so, that particular thing, they are very careful about. It's also doing it now with the I would say, hyper politicized environment in media right now. Yeah, it's all of a sudden people care what everyone thinks about these issues. And I was caught off guard by it because, up here in Canada, our politics are far more mild than we're much more issues based than the personality based stuff down in the States. And so I was really unprepared for how angry people got regarding that election, because to me it was like, okay, there was one candidate and another candidate and you weigh the candidates on their merits, but it was the same thing. If you said anything about Trump, you were
it's so annoying.
And you said any criticism about Clinton, and then, well, you're clearly pro-Trump, and I was. And
you're sexist. That was the best as I got. I was sexist because I didn't like either of them. So you'd be like, "Oh, you don't like Clinton because you don't want a woman in." I'm like, I don't give a shit if a woman's in office. I don't care.
Yeah, it was easy until what's his name, Johnson, started acting like, he started slipping far before the "what is Aleppo" moment. It was a crazy time. And I was really surprised that instead of just, okay, let's talk about the facts, let's take the noise out of it, and let's talk about what they're actually saying, and let's base it on their merits and all this stuff, it became this media-driven circus, and then everybody found a way to blame gaming for that too, because, Gamergate, alt-right, Trump. And it's like, yeah, the people who were squatting on gaming hopped over and squatted on politics, but you won't find Steve Bannon or Reince Priebus expounding on their opinions about women in games. That just didn't happen. But the narrative has become so crazy, and this is why I wanted to talk to you, that we have to stop treating gaming like this easy punching bag, in part because it is such a lifeline for kids, especially kids on the autism spectrum or kids that don't learn well through conventional education. These are they're lifelines for some of these kids. It gives them a world, it gives them a social circle, and if any kid is cut off by that because of the stigma about games, especially as somebody who's been playing for 35 years now, I've been gaming, and the last time I checked, I'm still a woman. It really frustrates me because I've seen it from the inside, and having worked in radio and TV, it's 1,000 times worse in those industries in terms of day to day. Part of the reason I like doing YouTube is if things get stupid and I drink like a fish for a few months and I gain weight, no one actually cares. That really surprised me, that based on everything, people don't even notice because they're listening to what you say. They're not even paying attention to what's on the screen most of the time. They have a YouTube running while they're playing a video game.
Or even if they do notice, you don't have to give a shit, and you're not going to have a producer come to you and bring you into a back room. Yeah.
And it's actually much easier for me being my own and taking that, I'm going to use that metaphor of a hatchet to the neck every so often. I'm willing to take that hit myself. And it's so nice to not have this team of people who start freaking out every time that happens, because I completely agree with you that these are the rules. Nobody likes the rules. I don't know of anybody who actually likes the current climate. I think everybody would like them to be changed. But if you get into a career, you need to know what you're in for. And I mean, you take your hits as a doctor, you take your hits as a lawyer, you take your hits as a politician, anything that is public and anything that requires an unequivocal amount of skill to get the job done, those hatchets to the neck are part of it. And those hits just seem so much fairer on YouTube than they did in radio and TV. Because you're right, it's a small group of people interpreting the opinions of a large group of people instead of that large group of people deciding for themselves what they're going to watch.
And this is what we're doing right now is the reason that the mainstream or legacy content is dying, because people like you and I can have a platform where I would never, my fat ass would never be on a television show before, but you know, going on YouTube, I could get a following, and people who would have never had followings, maybe even PewDiePie, who would have never had followings and had, you know, make a living off of something like this, now can.
Well, and you'd never convince somebody that spending 6 videos talking about NVIDIA chipsets would have an audience. There is.
Yes.
There very much is, because people need, people need to be guided through the marketing BS, because you look at the sheets, the sell sheets for these things, everything seems like the greatest thing ever and has no faults whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, because we have to wrap. I've taken up a lot of your time. We are an hour and 20 minutes in. You said you don't like Bethesda games, and that's what I want my final question to be for you, my final topic, because I am not the biggest fan of Bethesda games, and this is a very, very lonely world, Rich, to not be a Bethesda fan. So what is it about the games that you dislike? I wonder how much it lines up with mine.
Well, okay. First thing is that they're buggy as shit. Fallout 4, when I first got it, because I wanted to give Fallout a chance, because even though the dialogue of Bethesda games drives me insane, I understand it's part of the experience. If you like it, that's okay. That's just my opinion. I did enjoy the short time I had with Fallout 3, because I liked the whole VAT system in the combat, and I liked the open world. With Fallout 4, and this happened recently when I tried it again. Well, when did Fallout 4 come out? Like the end of 2014? No, the end of, or like 2015-ish.
2016. It was last holiday, because it clobbered the pants off of Tomb Raider.
Okay, there you go. It was like end of 2015. One of the terminals. I went to a terminal, had to hack it, got stuck in it, game-breaking bug, didn't save it at the right time.
Oh.
It was relatively early in the game, but I'm like, it's early in the game, and I already have a game-breaking bug. Tried the game a couple months ago, let's say. Roundabout. It was well after the game came out, well over a year. Same bug happened. The bugginess of Bethesda games drive me insane. And I guess you could say maybe I hate the way the characters look. I know it sounds dumb, but like when you're having a conversation with them, why do I feel like I'm talking to a corpse that's moving its lips in the year 2017?
They still move like marionettes.
Yes.
It's true.
And their faces are like this. Oh my God, I saw him I understand. I could see where people appreciate them, but and I understand they're huge games, and checking the bugs in those, that must be a monumental task. But when it's a bug 30 minutes into when you start a game, and then a year later when you think they would have patched the same bug is there, that's what pisses me off about Bethesda games.
That's my issue too. That, and I mean, I know Bethesda voice actors, and they work hard, and it's not the voice actor's fault, it's the voice direction. But if everybody could sound as good as the ghouls in Fallout games, because they're allowed to, have some character. And they're allowed to, everybody else just read the line. I'm reading the line. That's what it sounds like to me. To the fact that they mispronounce things and things like that, because they're just grinding through the dialogue. And there's a lot to explore. But
I want to be able to explore it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my ADHD, and again, I'm just a different gamer than a lot of people that may watch this. And if you enjoy the dialogue, that's great. But I feel like I'm just sitting there watching a softcore porn without the porn sometimes.
Now, do you play other RPGs? Do you play The Witcher? Do you play the BioWare games? Anything like that?
I want to play The Witcher. I want to. I'm not an RPG. I don't play the games that much. Admittedly, I do want to, but there's something of what. And other games I'm okay with it that I've played, but there's just the way that Bethesda approaches it that bothers me.
That's interesting because you warned if you try The Witcher 2, still has bugs. There's a memory leak in it that is brutal. You'll probably be fine because you've got a really high-end PC, but it was brutal for me. And it's the same complaint. They never fixed it.
You'd be surprised. Sometimes even high-end rigs don't remedy that.
It could be. I mean,
like with Fallout 4, I get micro stuttering with that on my main rig, which is a monster.
Aren't you running it in like 4K with like the new massive texture pack on it and everything like that?
That's the I'm making a video where I got a Dell that was probably sitting under someone's desk, and for under $500, I'm getting it to run 4 games in 4K good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing what this. All I did was take a Dell, put more RAM in it. I put a GTX 1060 and a hard drive, and it's gaming in 4K, native 4K. But
that's interesting.
But even on my rig with a 1080 in it, yeah, I get micro stutter sometimes with Fallout 4.
Yeah, well, I think that's because it's communicating with massive parts of the world at once. Like it's the way that game talks to itself. I remember, was it Skyrim on the PS4? It saved the whole map, so you're getting these megabyte huge, like 28 meg save files, because it was saving the entire map, and the game just slowed down as you played it. It was crazy. And if Ubisoft,
I remember that. Yeah.
If Ubisoft made a game like that, it would get pilloried no matter how good the story was. And like, at least with Ubisoft, they take technical advances and they take artistic risks. The crowds in Unity were astounding to me. They actually moved like crowds, you know? And yeah, it didn't work very well at first, but I give them credit for taking that risk. If that had been a Bethesda game, it would have been, oh, okay, we'll wait.
Yeah.
It's funny how some companies, and I think it's that fanboy effect.
Yes.
You talked about.
Because as soon as you have that stigma, you could be attacked. If you have that stigma where everything you do is divine, then no one like, hey, wait, how dare you go after, like Jeff Gertzman called out, I think, Fallout 4, and he got shit on for it.
Really?
Yeah. I think I made a video about that a long time ago when the game first came out. Jeff Gertzman kind of called out the technical issues, and people were like attacking him because, like, but he's right. I remember that because I experienced that bug I told you about with going to one of the computers. I'm like, the game broke on me 30 minutes in. Jeff isn't wrong. So why are you?
I had bugs. I remember I got stuck in one dungeon. Rad Roach got stuck in the ceiling and was just doing this on the ceiling. And it was one of those ones you had to clear the whole dungeon to advance. And so I was just watching this bug going, I'm like, wow, it's a literal bug. And it was kind of amazing that way. But yeah, the game is buggy.
And people, and you know, it's like Bethesda's like the second coming of Christ. How dare you talk about it?
And this, how do you feel about what this does in general? Because other game franchises are now copying Bethesda games. Because the thing that hooks everybody in is the customization and the exploration, and you can make it your own, right? You can sit there arranging every bottle on a shelf badly because the tools are shit. But people love that. I've got a friend that's obsessed with just making her sort of homestead be all fancy. And that's what draws people in. And so then you get games, you know, I mentioned it before, like Dragon Age, that wasn't about that at all. That was about, I want to be hero save world. And all
now
of a
copying
sudden,
it.
it's the respawning dragons, and you don't get out of the friggin' hinterlands for 6 hours.
I call it the Apple effect, even though the Apple effect is starting to wane because they're making too many stupid decisions. But, you know, Apple gets rid of a headphone jack. Everyone else gets rid of a headphone jack. Apple gets rid of replaceable batteries, which is the reason I used to love Samsung phones. Everyone else does that. If you remember Samsung, I know it is the same topic, but it's kind of not. Samsung used to brag about the fact you could change batteries, but they're like, oh, Apple's still selling phones like crazy. We do it too. Same thing with Bethesda. Oh, Bethesda could, you know, release a half-assed game with a whole bunch of bugs. Oh, I'm going to do the same thing too. Oh, Bethesda has this feature, even though it's still, like you said, half-baked. I'm going to do it too because they're selling like crazy. You know, we have a follow mentality with everything.
They don't make the games even open to the press pre-launch, though. I mean, and they flat out said proudly, nope.
We're not doing. Yeah, I always saw that.
Review copies. this is inexcusable to me. I mean, to me, when they don't show a game on the floor before it launches, there's usually a reason. It's very rare there isn't. Fallout had to be the bugs, because I remember when they had New Vegas playable, there were bugs in it. I spawned inside another dude when I went through the door, and they immediately don't show that, don't show that, don't show that. It's like, why do you care? It's a Bethesda
It's a
game.
bug, yeah.
Yeah, and you expect bugs in various alpha and beta builds. That's okay. The original Uncharted like crashed, shut down the whole PlayStation. They had to reboot the debug kit when I played it the first time. Battlefield 3 crashed when I demoed it. And it was funny because it was a whole bar, and you come in and Dice does the whole razzle dazzle dance, and then the whole thing shut down and like, this demo is over. You all need to leave. And it was the funniest thing, but it happens, right?
But they don't want it to happen because all they're seeing is dollars just falling out of their pockets as they're doing it. But what bothers me too is that, look, I understand, I've said this in video before too, I understand the games are way bigger than they were in the 16 and 8-bit era. The amount of man hours that go into the game must equal 8 billion lifetimes when you collectively all the people that work on it. But at the same time, I've always said this too, look, I know investors, they look at quarters, they look at numbers.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a game, keep delaying it. Delay the damn game as much as you want to. I'd rather have the game come out and be a satisfactory experience. Still may be bugs because, look, they're huge games. Than have a game come out and be virtually broken, which now seems almost like the norm. Remember when the Master Chief Collection came out with the online portion of it, how disastrous that was? But, you know, it's all, we need to get it out for the fourth quarter. We need to get out for the end of the year so it counts in our financial results. Whereas now you're hurting your reputation because now people can't trust your games when they come out. But at the same time, as I say that, I'm going to be my own devil's advocate. People are now conditioned to think that's the norm and that's okay. So these younger kids, these younger generations who maybe their first console was an Xbox 360, they're used to these bugs now. Oh, what are you complaining about? Like, I'm complaining about the fact that there was a time, even in the PS2 days, that you got a game and it worked out of the goddamn box. Okay,
and
not
if it didn't, people were really angry because there was no way to patch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now because of these patches, it almost like the developers like, okay, we can push the game out and make our investors happy, and, you know, we'll patch it later so we can get those numbers in so, you know, we don't get staff laid off. I really think that's what's going on. Personally, with me, the Switch, not to bring up the Switch again, okay, I'm not a huge Zelda guy, but I wish they waited to launch the system when there was a more robust launch lineup.
Yeah, a lot of the games they had on the floor are near launch, so they're coming out 3 or 4 months later. Part of me, I'm torn on that because to me, one of the greatest games for the Xbox One is still Sunset Overdrive. And a lot of people have not played that game because it came out so near launch. And there just weren't enough Xboxes in people's homes, so it's ones that kind of get forgotten.
Slip through the cracks, yeah.
Yeah, because not enough people had the Xbox One back then, and I wish they do like the PlayStation, the greatest hits that PlayStation do. They give games another chance because that's a great one. It's fun, it's goofy, it's silly, it's great open world. You navigate fast, and people don't know about it, and that sucks. But that's the reality of being a launch title.
I think we can end with this. I think that if they had one more big IP from Nintendo besides Zelda Breath of the Wild, which in theory is a port from the Wii U, I would have been happier. I'm probably going to get a Bomberman R, or that's your Super Bomberman R that looks like it's cool, but just kind of disappointing because I'm not a huge Zelda guy. I like Zelda. I'm going to buy it. I already have it pre-ordered.
There's Disgaea, I think I saw that. Okay. Yeah, I saw it. I think it was Disgaea. It was either Disgaea or Xenosaga. I want to say Disgaea.
Okay. All right.
But that's more of a sort of a Japanesey type game.
I don't know. But that's part of the thing, I think, which the Wii U, like they had Super Mario Brothers U, but that was really just an upscaled version of the game almost they had for the Wii. I think if I don't know, big titles at the launch time, I've always noticed have helped systems, but then again, didn't help the N64, but that's a different story. N64.
Underrated system.
Yes.
Yes.
But cartridges hurt it, but that would be another 4 hours of talk.
Rich, thank you so much. We could go on for 4 hours. This is really enjoyable. I'm sure people will love it. Plug your stuff. Where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Review Tech USA. It is all one word, and you can check me out there.